good morning, and welcome to another edition of Techniche Tips. I'm your host, Joseph M. Smith, and like always, I have another one for you. And I'm so excited to have our guest on today. But if you do receive anything of value from this show, always don't forget to like, comment, if you will, so that you can be part of the experience, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Hey, this is helpful for us to get the message out because we have tons and tons of amazing episodes on this for you, and I'm so excited to share more with you. But we need that support, so go ahead and subscribe if you can. And if you are tuning in for the first time, let me know where you're tuning in from. What we do here is we make it interactive and we bring you on the screen, just like OTTO, Operation Takeover. Peace and blessings, family, as well to you, man. Always supporting the show. And like he's gonna say, I'm gonna say it too. Don't forget that there's a Q&A portion to this conversation that's going to be happening around the midway mark, maybe a little bit earlier. So you want to stay here for that, where you could ask our guests any questions that you may have in regards to their experience and in regards to what they may refer to you to do, depending on your situation or your circumstance. But listen, I would be remiss to say that I cannot be thankful enough for our sponsors. We have a couple of sponsors for the show, and I'm going to start off with Learnful. Learnful is actually produced and created by a leader at HubSpot who's done an amazing work with helping people who want to get to the next level in regards to pre-sales get there. And so if you're interested in pre-sales, want to learn more about pre-sales, go ahead, especially if you're on YouTube, look at the link below. It's in the description and you can find out more, get a free consultation there. Now, Kevin Dorsey, if you're not familiar with him, has an amazing course on level careers that helps people who want to transition to more of a closing role, an account executive role in their company, be able to do so. So if you want to find out that course, he actually has free introductory courses as well. So go ahead and click the link. It's leveled careers. It's advanced courses to help you get to not only be an account executive, but if you're interested also in cybersecurity as a SOC analyst or interested in sales, being a sales engineer as well, those are areas that you can look into. So that is the other sponsor. Now, last but not least, we have Course Careers. Listen, this is what I took to get into the tech industry, specifically tech sales, but there's a plethora of other different classes you could take, all of them having free introductory courses. So you can decide for yourself if this is the right move for you. So don't forget to check out those free introductory courses. And we are about to start and get into the show. But if you're excited, I need you guys to put in some bomb emojis in the comment section right now. Put some excited emojis, smiley faces, because we're about to get started. Our guest decided to make a huge move and actually quit big tech in order to do something that's a bit more fulfilling for her. And I would love for you to show your appreciation to none other than Keiyana. Keiyana, how are you doing, sis? How's everything going?
Hi, Joseph. I'm good. It is early morning on a Saturday in the Bay Area.
I think I hear that. I think I hear the roosters crowing, and
Yes,
cock-a-doodle-doo.
yeah.
Oh man, well, I'm excited to have you here nonetheless, and thank you for the sacrifice to be here. This is going to be an amazing, amazing conversation, and I'm going to add what he said. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, and subscribe. The Q&A portion of the show will exclusively be on YouTube, so get on your questions out and ready. Okay, so listen, we're going to be quick with this one because I want to get to that Q&A part, but let's talk about Keiyana right now. What is it that you're doing? What is it that
Mhm.
we're happening in your life? And then we'll unpack that later.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Number one, I appreciate everything that Techniche is doing when it comes to providing information, accessibility to our communities. And so this is completely paralleled with my values as well. And so, just to give you a bit of information and background about myself, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I've lived in a lot of different places, Atlanta, Chicago, and now I'm rooted in the Bay. I have been doing senior recruitment, diversity, equity, and inclusion, program work, training, facilitation, formally at Meta for the last 5 years, but in tech for over a decade. And so I have reached a place in my career where a lot of people are looking at me like sideways in this market, asking me, why did you quit your job in the middle of this like ongoing brewing recession. It's an election year. There's just so many unpredictable variables. But I'm having a lot of fun. I'm learning. I recently launched my own business. It's called Professional Love Letter, where I am dedicating all of my knowledge that I've learned on the recruiting side in tech and pouring it into my communities. I'm a Black woman, I'm a queer woman. And so I have layers of intersectional identities. And it's like, this is my opportunity to do it my way. Do it my way. And so I recently completed an executive coaching certification through UC Berkeley. I'll be at some conferences this fall. I just got booked for my first speaking engagement at a conference in January 2025. And so there are so many exciting things happening. I recently, my social media has been taking off on LinkedIn. I post a lot of educational content. I've had a few viral posts. And so there are a lot of like moving points, balls in my life right now. It keeps me on my toes, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Hey, listen, fun is part of the game. And in regards to
Mhm,
life, it's so short that we have to make these sort of decisions. But let's kind of peel the onion back and let's talk about it. How did you get
mhm.
into recruiting? Was that always something that you were looking to do?
No. And if you ask most recruiters, like you don't go to school thinking, I'm going to be a recruiter when I grow up. It's just something that I kind of fell into, actually. I worked in admissions for my alma mater, and I did a graduate assistantship where I would travel to high schools in the surrounding areas and I would recruit people to come to my school and want to apply, and I managed like the scholarship program. And so once I completed that graduate assistantship, I think that's when I started to understand the world of recruiting. I actually started off in sales. I went through a leadership development program with AT&T,
Uh-oh.
but going through that program, I could not stop thinking about my experience with my recruiter and how I
Mm.
wanted that job. That's the job that I want. I want to help people, coach people through the process. I am obsessed with, like, I guess, like the hunt, the search, and data points you can use when it comes to the job process in general. And that should have been the first sign. That was about, let's see, 14 years ago. Mhm.
Wow. Wow. Time has definitely progressed. Listen, y'all, we're about to dive into this story, but if you have any questions or comments that you want to ask as we progress, go ahead and put it in the comment section. I'm going to save it for later and make sure it's a part of our Q&A portion of the conversation. But I'm going to continue going forward by kind of talking a little bit about the fact that you got into recruiting and you didn't start where you are now. You kind of grew and you kind of moving forward in your career. Can you talk about how your pathway to get to where you were at Meta, and then we'll transition from there?
Can you clarify that question?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, when you started off in recruiting. Well, actually, you said sales. So we kind of have a
Mhm.
similar path there. And then when you got into recruiting, uh,
Mhm.
what was it like? Did you immediately get to Meta, or were there other places that you started in your regards to your career where you went?
Mhm. I started off at AT&T because it was an internal
Hmm.
move after leaving my alma mater. So AT&T, I did tech recruiting for about a year or so, and then Twitter slid in my DM on LinkedIn, and I did a contract role with them for a year. I was at CNN, United Airlines, and Meta was my last stop. Yes.
All right. And so at that point, I mean, anybody would want to say, "Hey, I've arrived. I'm here." Like you said, you
Mhm.
probably had those people looking at you like you're crazy, like what's going on? But you knew that there was something more that you wanted to do. I put in the thumbnail, "This changes everything." What
Yeah.
was that moment that changed everything for you that said, "I need to now do this now at this particular time"?
Absolutely. I think it goes back to November 9th, 2022, when we had our first mass layoff at the company.
Hmm.
I was fortunate to survive four layoffs, but as you're sitting in
Yeah.
that seat, wondering when your name is going to be called, you start thinking about what you're doing, what you signed up to do.
Mm,
what's important to you, what's aligned with your values. And I think when it comes to that moment that changed everything, it's when I started posting on LinkedIn,
mm,
actually earlier this year. And I started posting about positions I was recruiting for. I started posting about things that were, people were talking to me about in my DMs and my comments, things that
yeah,
I noticed were gaps in the application process. There are a lot of unemployed people right now. And
yeah,
I don't think folks understand how to apply, how to stand out. And I just started posting about how to do these things, how to
mm,
get the attention of your recruiter or hiring manager, how to slide in the DMs appropriately, how to do all of these things. And I realized that I had a brand of my own, and I
mm,
would still be able to do the inclusion work that I wanted to, but in a different capacity. And so now I am joining the job seekers. And so I'm still seeking opportunities, and I'm shooting my shot with some of the big companies like Netflix and Google, but I'm also shooting my shot with some startups and smaller companies too, just to explore and to play. And I think like there are a lot of people that feel as though they're stuck with the quote unquote golden handcuffs.
mhm,
And for anyone who doesn't know what golden handcuffs are, when you work in tech specifically, there are some pretty amazing perks that you receive. And I mean, and most corporations in general, whether it's PTO or, your benefits, leave time, food, there could be a number of things. But in my mind, I needed to know that there was more out there when it came down to my values and what was really important beyond uh, the glisten and the glamour. And for me, it was doing the work that I wanted to do and also giving myself professional growth and development opportunities.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a really risky thing. Most people would say to do, but you're just being
Mhm,
true to what you feel like you need to do at the moment. I remember there's a time that I had a job that, because of the sake of my family and where we were, I felt the
mhm,
need that I needed to quit to kind of pursue a business that I was looking to start, and which was vocal coaching at the time. And
mm,
so there's always these moments and that we make these leaps of faith that they would say, and try
mhm,
to go ahead and do something new. But this is actually might be very encouraging to somebody who's actually in that place. I've actually listened to a couple of people recently on YouTube. One person, for example, got laid off, hasn't been able to find a job in 4 months, but
mm.
because they've been able to leverage their experience being consultant for companies and even their
Yes.
experience and help coaching others and
Mhm.
speaking, they're finding multiple revenue streams in other areas that they never have found before.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you are would love to talk about that now as a segue, but
Yeah.
you are kind of tapping into that right now for yourself. You're finding these other streams of income, for lack of a better
Yeah.
terminology. Did that happen just because of, you know what? No, I'm gonna just step out of this. But did you forecast that? Did you see like, oh no, this is an opportunity here in advance?
I mean, we've all been looking at social media and these influencers, like, how do you monetize your presence being online, right?
Yeah.
Like, I definitely had aspirations to get there, but I don't think I truly unlocked what it meant to monetize LinkedIn, for example, until I started posting with intention. And so the things that I talk about are almost a manifestation of the things that I want and aspire to, and they naturally gravitate and it attract to me. And I think a lot of people need to realize that closed mouths don't get fed. That
Mm,
is such a true saying. No
yeah.
one will know the type of work you want to do. No one will know what's important to you, what you've done if you don't showcase it. And it
Mm,
doesn't mean turning on a camera and pressing record. Sometimes that means putting the metrics together and making a really thoughtful post in text and maybe giving people some value on how to do the same thing that you did. And so once I started posting in a way that I positioned myself as an expert in the field, I started to create my own brand. And so
Mm,
while we are applying to a lot of these company brands and we want to be blue or red or whatever these company colors are, remember your colors inside of yourself, and your brand is what they want to bring into their company. And so I'm learning to, in my own way, hold on to my brand and who I am while simultaneously pursuing other opportunities.
yeah, no, I definitely hear that. That's a challenging place to be. You know, you have
Yeah.
your personal brand. They even
Mhm.
might want you for your personal brand, but once they get you, they're like, "Hey, could you shift things a little bit so that they can know
Yes.
where you work from or something?" So we got that's a balance that we probably have to figure out on how to do. But I want to kind of dive into what you just said about personal branding and the
Mhm.
importance of doing that. Can you kind of elaborate on personal branding for yourself and what doors or opportunities that has it opened for you thus far?
Yeah, I read this on LinkedIn the other day, or maybe I heard a video, but your personal brand, people think that there is some formula, some magic wand where you're like, I'm gonna pop up and have these McDonald arches, and that's gonna be like what people see me as. And you don't need a logo to have a personal brand.
Mm,
The thing about the personal brand that I heard online and it just clicked is the your personal brand is the essence of who you are at your core. So
mm,
really understanding what is important to you when you speak, what comes out of your mouth and you have passion about?
mm,
What are the things that light up your face and make you smile immediately? Sometimes we can feel in our body too how you have you ever been in a situation where you're like, I shouldn't go down that alley. It might
mhm.
not be the right thing.
Yeah,
Or you feel drawn to a place that you really want to go. It's been on your bucket list for a long time. I pay attention to how I feel in my body when I have these experiences because typically I'm leading myself to where my heart is and
mm,
what my brand is. And so those are things that inform me. And if you ask me about who the essence of my core is right now, I will tell you it's inclusion. I'm very passionate about making sure that everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. I believe that is truly what we all want as human beings. I'm also very passionate about education. And if I don't know something, I am like, where's the nearest book, podcast, Audible? How can I get this information? And I think there's power in learning. And so it's special when I can take something that I've learned and break it down into a way that is entertaining or funny or lighten someone's day consuming that information. And so, another thing that I'm very passionate about is always having options. There's no wrong way to do anything, it's just a decision, and you can always make another decision. And so, that's my brand right now, encouraging people to stand in who they are, empowering them to continue learning, and making sure everyone feels included in what they're doing.
nice. And in regards to opportunities, have what are some of the things that you either have experienced so far because you decided to venture out into doing a personal brand, or what are some things you're hoping to happen now that you're pursuing this full time?
Okay. Several opportunities have floated my way, and I don't think it's by luck. Like I said again, I think it's based on what you're putting out there, right? And
Hmm.
so, this opportunity, being able to speak on this show with you, is something that stemmed from my social media presence, my brand. There were parallels in the things that we are both passionate about, and we wouldn't have known that if we weren't out here showcasing it. So this is one of them. There are a couple other shows that I'll be on this year. Um, let's see. I have upcoming volunteer assignment at Lesbians Who Tech, which is a national conference. The summit is happening in New York this year, September 17th through the 20th, and I will be doing some social media there. And so that's exciting. And I think having a presence was a way for me to display my work, my abilities, and that alignment, the parallels. Some other things that have happened is I will be a keynote speaker at the Wonder Tech Conference in January 2025. I have also been coaching clients. I have active clients in my coaching roster right now, and that is so exciting. I just formally started taking it up this past June, and I have people who are telling me during their sessions with me that this is impacting them in a positive way. They're able to approach their job search or whatever big life transition that they're going through with a partner, someone who truly cares and holds space for them and helps them think about things in a different way. And so that's fulfilling. I also have some collaborations that are taking place. And so there are a lot of exciting things to come. And the best part about all of this is just the beginning. I just started posting content this year, and I think this was the year of the awakening for me on who I am and realizing that I have a brand outside of an organization.
Yeah, that's so good. And the reason why I wanted to
Mhm,
highlight that is because sometimes people could say, "Oh, branding, branding. I gotta write posts. I gotta do that," and they could kind of tune it out.
mhm.
But if they could realize on the other side of the apprehension, on the other side of the fear, and the
Yeah.
other side of that are opportunities that they've been looking for. They've
Mhm,
been probably, praying for, seeking for. Like there are opportunities on the other side of that if
yes.
they just were diligent enough to do it. And I'm not gonna lie, I gotta step up my game in other areas too, and I know that. So it's not just once you do one thing you arrive. Like you said,
Mhm,
there's multiple different areas that you can definitely do that. But
yeah.
I'm gonna go into definitely your career coaching because I think it's very important before we go into the Q&A to talk about that. But I
Okay.
also wanted you to kind of dive deeper into this particular area, which you hit on, which is okay, you're awakening now. I
Mhm,
think that a lot of people, those that may be listening to it now or even later, may say, "Hey, I've I'm struggling with creating this brand or doing this out of
mhm,
something that I'm passionate about because of the ridicule, because of the, I guess, for lack of a better word, people just criticizing what I say." There's Reddit's where people are dedicated to
mhm.
criticizing what people say on LinkedIn. What would you say to that person?
Mm. The word that I have consistently been hearing is cringe.
Mm,
For some reason, this is the word that people use when describing the vision of themselves posting online. Being and I honestly I don't understand. Actually, I do understand the cringe part. I think there are some perceptions in the world that you don't talk about what you're doing until it's already done for fear that you won't do it or it won't happen or you might jinx it or it's not fully fleshed out and you might feel like, you look silly or foolish or that you failed. And people don't like to fail, they don't like to receive bad feedback. They want to protect that image of who they are because
mm,
they may not realize it, but even them saying that it's cringe, they see that there is a part of their brand that they want to protect. And I think
mm.
that comes from a space of not knowing what's on the other side.
Mm,
And so, my advice to anyone is to think more about the content that you enjoy consuming. And so, if you didn't have some of these creators out here teaching, sharing, making you laugh, your day would look a little bit different. We're always on our phone, we're always consuming. And so, the type of content that you're putting out there doesn't have to look one way. We see so many examples in front of us. And again, pay attention to your body, what feels most aligned to you and think about a way that you can do it. And honestly, most people who are looking at your content will probably be thinking, how can I do that? I wish I could do that.
Mm,
And I think that's what a lot of the folks who mention that word of cringe or wanting or having like a fear of being perceived by other people, we're always being evaluated in every situation. Whether you are meeting a new person, they're evaluating you. Is this someone I want in my life? If you're dating, you're like, is this someone I want to be attached to? If you are following or unfollowing someone, you're evaluating them on like, is this content aligned with me? And so I would say to that, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Someone will always have an opinion about you. And that's why we have to root ourselves and anchor ourselves in who we are and what we want in this world. Because at the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning and I go to brush my teeth, I'm looking at myself.
mm,
When I go to bed at night, when I close my eyes, I'm in my own body, right? And so we have to really think about what it is going to make us feel enjoyment on this earth while we have the time. I read something the other day that said if we're lucky, we will have 80 summers. 80,
mm.
that's it.
Wow, not a lot.
That's not a lot. That's not a lot. And so, how do you want to spend your summers? What is important to you? How, like, if you get 80 summers, are you still going to be able to do the things that you once were, maybe at summer 20 or summer 30,
Mm,
summer 40? And so that's what I think about when I think about my hesitation to post, to inform people. I think about, is what I'm posting, is it something that is truly aligned with my values? And if it is, then it's definitely going to be something I'm proud of, regardless of what the opinion is, regardless of how many people engage with it. Someone will, someone. There's never been a post that I put out where I did not get any kind of engagement, even if it was just one like.
mm.
So that's what I will say to people who are feeling hesitant to create content.
Yeah, no, no, this is really good, and I just wanted to gotta give a just to say thank you everybody for tuning in right now. I think that there's a lot to pause, rewind, go check it back later. Especially if you're like, man, I don't even think I want to do this thing because of fear,
Yeah.
apprehension. Go ahead and review that and check that out for yourself. Um, and so Operation Takeover says, welcome to the family, Mitch. Joseph brings an amazing guests that are very impactful. Thank you so much for saying that. And I appreciate that. Tech Coach Ralph is in the building as well. So we definitely appreciate you guys for stopping by. I wanted to go and talk about your career services now, because that's another thing too.
Mhm.
Especially with this economy, it's very important to leverage career services, leverage what your experiences can be to help somebody else. So, can you talk about a little bit more in detail about what experience? What's the word I'm looking for? What services that you provide to your clients?
Yes. The most popular service is the resume review. A lot of people want me to look at their resume and make sure this would be an acceptable resume in tech. And I
Mm,
do that. I can push you to like pull out the metrics and the strongest points of impact. And equally, the resume is not going to be the thing that's getting you a job in this market. And so I will
mm,
say that the resume is something to get your foot in the door and to have some initial visibility. So, yes, the resume is still important. However, my most valuable career service that I offer is helping people discover a way forward through a space where they feel stuck. They feel stuck in
mm,
their career. They feel stuck in a transition, wanting to pivot industries. They have been unemployed for 6 months to a year, and it's really starting to like impact their mental health. And so I talk to people, and in my coaching, I stress every session, I'm not an advisor. I will never tell any of my clients what to do. I can offer you perspective as a previous recruiter at some of these companies like Twitter and like Facebook, and what these recruiting teams and hiring managers look for. But ultimately, I will ask you questions to help you discover who you are and which way to go and what's most important to you and what your anchor is. And so that's why my clients typically leave sessions feeling like, I always ask the question, how do you feel now versus where we started at the top of the session? And
Mm,
I can hear the transformation in that hour, in that 30 minutes. And that's powerful. It's something that they'll be able to take with them and be able to use on their own after seeing me. My hope is that my clients that I coach one on one is that they don't need to have someone like me forever, that I am equipping them with the tools that they'll be able to sustain on their own. I also offer consultation services, and I really truly believe in career confidence for everyone, even employers. Understanding that there is a bridge, an educational bridge that I can build when it comes to ingraining inclusion in your
mm.
recruiting processes, when it comes to training your hiring teams on ways to show up, how to communicate inclusively. And so, most recently, I visited a startup in San Francisco called Volley. It was a startup I hadn't heard about, but they do a lot of really cool things with AI, with Alexa, with some games that you might have heard of. Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Wheel of Fortune, Family Feud. They work with Alexa and Amazon to put out these products. I came in, I was invited to just observe their pride mixer, to be there with them in communication. I have had conversations with leadership at Pinterest. They were interested in hearing more about inclusion. And so these are opportunities that I think are flowing from me, coming from a space of truly wanting to build bridges, truly wanting and believing that there can be an evolution in a person, in a place, or in a thing.
Nice. And now, with that being said, we're going to the Q&A, and I'm being very
Mhm.
mindful of time, y'all. So we only have time for about 3 questions. So if so if you have questions, definitely put it in the chat right now. I would like to say just thank you before we get into this Q&A to Kiana for joining us. It's been great having you here thus far. And I also wanted to make sure that everybody knows, especially if you're on YouTube, that if you go into the description, you could also follow Kiana, reach out to her, especially if you need of any of those career services. If you're feeling stuck in your career, if you want to transition to another career, you heard her say herself, she's not an advisor. She's going to ask you questions that are going to make you advise yourself. Basically, oh, I think I need to do this or that. So definitely lock in and stay connected. But if you have any questions, definitely put it in there for sure. Now, to get the ball rolling, I'm going to ask a question. Where do you feel is the biggest apprehension or the biggest area that people struggle with when they feel stuck? Like you mentioned, 6 to 9 months. We also got to
Mhm.
talk about people that are underemployed, as well. That
Yes.
group of people. How do you help those people get unstuck from where they are?
Hmm. I think if someone were to come to me and feel any of those things that you just mentioned, we actually start at where the reality is, what you've already tried, and where you haven't gone. And a lot of times I have clients who come in and they're stuck in their favorite sentences, I don't know. And that's when I push and I challenge, and we think beyond limitation. And
Mm,
so typically, we enter a space of endless possibility.
yep.
And through going on that journey, we're able to see that maybe everything hasn't been tried, or maybe there's just circumstances that have happened and it wasn't time yet. Or maybe you've planted so many seeds that we're just waiting for harvest season. And
Mm,
maybe we need to add some water to nurture those seeds a little bit more. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but there's a lot of different ways that you can approach feeling stuck. And typically, I start with where we are anchored in reality and what does it look like if there were endless possibilities. Now, that doesn't mean go to a space of like, I want to be Beyonce. Like, let's stay on earth. But it is something where you can dream about where you want to go in this life when it
Mm,
comes to your career, when it comes to your purpose, when it comes to the people and spaces that you want to be around and be occupying. And so I would say that there is never a dead end, and you just have to believe that.
nice, nice. Totally agree. Totally agree with that. And listen, y'all, I'm not keeping my guests extra long. If y'all don't have any questions, I'm not gonna keep her extra long. I want to make sure that I am very mindful of our guest time. You always know that about me. So listen, you have about I'll give you guys a minute to put in at least two questions. If y'all can put in two questions, then that'll be great. And so, I'm going to ask another question because I definitely do
Mhm.
see that there could be an end goal in mind to what you're doing, and where do you see yourself in regards to the career that you're looking to build, or the business, I should say, in the next 5, maybe even 10 years? I don't know if you've gone that far, but how far do you think that where have you seen it go for the future?
Joseph, did you hear about the year that I just had? I am not thinking about 10 to 5 years, to be honest with you. Yes, I do want what I'm doing now to be done with intention, to be done with a big picture in mind. But I am kind of done with the planning part.
Mm,
I think what taught me to adjust with change and move with the shifts is the pandemic 2020. I had
yeah.
lots of plans for that year. I had lots of plans for 5 years, and
Mm,
none of that came true. I had to adjust. And the reality of life is that no matter how we try to plan for things, life will happen and
yeah.
changes will happen. And so instead of thinking about where I'm going to be 5 to 10 years from now, I'm learning how to embrace where I am and really truly hold on to those moments of change and shift and pay attention to what I'm learning and where it's taking me. And is it aligned with who I am and what I value?
Well said, and I think that's a great place to stop for today. I want to thank you, Kiana, for your time. Thank you for everybody that's been watching and those that are going to be watching this later on. If you ever want to reach out to Kiana, her information is below in the description, especially on YouTube. You could get all of it right there. But thank you so much, and I do appreciate you again for making yourself available early in the morning in Cali. So I thank you so much for that.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun. And I look forward to staying in touch with you and anyone else who wants to slide in my DM or follow.
Awesome. Until next time, family. Like I always say, hope to see you on the other side. Take care.